news that she's got something.
And I hadn't heard anything, so I wasn't sure.
School district here today.
Oh, okay.
Similar thing, and they were impressed with programs and what we're doing. But Bloom University is trying to tie in Dr. Tom from the NEF. And they can't as a university, but Bloom School District can as the school. And then Strasburg is trying to tie in with East Strasburg University. STEM stuff as well, and Dr. Tom. So we have questions. East Strasburg couldn't make it, so we talked to them. By phone. Yeah, I don't know. What it is.
Hi, Gail.
Okay, if not, I have extras.
Ready? Start with pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up policy we have on the agenda is policy 819. About 3 weeks ago, our school nurses got together to make some revisions to our suicide awareness, prevention, and response policy. This was revised most recently in February, but there were some changes already that they're looking to include now as a new revision. So you can see on the yes, page 4. You can see that the red is stricken out, and they're looking to change it because of our student assistance program that we have now through all levels as part of the screening. So it doesn't just go through the guidance counselor, it's a group of people who are trained in the student assistance program that will be able to assist. And then again, we remove just the school counselor, and again, are using as a team to notify and to do some of the contacts as well. So it's not putting all the information, all the burden on the school counselor. There's more people who are involved. And the only thing I believe with the social worker too, now we just added, well, last year, now we're picking another one. That is a new position, so we're looking to revise the policy based on that information. Then they also added several references as well.
Who's they?
The student assist, the people that were here, the school nurses, and Mark McIntyre, special ed director.
Okay.
They're the ones that reviewed it. That went
Okay.
And then their information comes from many different sources to look at revising policies. A lot of it comes through the special services for the students, so they groups that they meet down at the IU special directors get together and they talk about different, plans and what have you. So some of it comes from that.
When was this first adopted?
This is
Is this relatively new? or-
This is relatively new, 2015, that was, the law required this to be adopted, Pennsylvania required us to have a suicide prevention
Okay.
policy, so that
Wasn't
was.
that Lee Clayton had a problem in 20?
No, it's statewide, If you look at any of the other school districts, you'll notice that most all the policy numbers are the same. So every school district's policy number 819 is more than likely their suicide awareness prevention and policy. So they're all recommended from the state, but this is in accordance with the state law that we have to have this policy
Okay.
in
And
place.
who originally wrote this in 2015?
It was originally wrote by the PSBA was part of it, and there was a bunch of different groups from the state as well, and then also school solicitors, looked at it and reviewed it. So it's been reviewed by several people. So it was not written by administration. It was
No, but it was written by a statewide group of people.
nurses, counselors, and those types of things.
But individually, did we then adjust that, or we just adopted it with all the other?
We adjusted some of it that came to us because it was more of a, depending on what you had type situation. Some people don't have student assistance teams in the elementary, middle school, and high school. They may only have them at the high school. So that was part of it. So we really had to gear it towards what resources we had in our district.
So we take the template and then we adjust it
To
individually.
what we could, yeah.
How much input do you think our local school district applied to this?
How,
How much of it? 80% of it's formatted and a couple percent's us? or-
hard to say.
I mean, if I pull up all the 819s at all the other districts,
You'll see a lot of
they're
similarities.
gonna be all the same, right?
Not all the same, because some schools don't have, they may not have a social worker, they may not have a SAP team at different levels, but the majority of it probably would look very similar.
So what differentiates our school from other schools?
Mostly our resources that we have to offer to students.
But if we have more, we can have a better policy, therefore attract more people to come here, correct?
Yes,
If
possibly.
there are better policies, we have a more
I don't know
attractive.
that'd be better
More
policy.
support resources for the students, that's really what is
Because
different between.
some schools may not have an on-site school psychologist, they may outsource their school psychologist with the IU or something. They may not have a director of special ed, they may have someone who's an assistant principal or principal that also, does that responsibility as
But
well.
all those decisions are made locally and not controlled by the state.
Correct.
Whether or not you have an on-staff psychologist. or-
Yes. Those couple of minor changes. The next policy we have for review on the agenda is a personal necessity leave. We talked about this at our last meeting as well. One of the things in this policy, when we're going looking through, for one of the areas is grandparents. Currently, they get 5 days for any type of bereavement or death of a grandparent. Some schools have 1, some schools have 3. So with this, we're looking to, have discussion on, is the grandparents similar to, a mother, a daughter, a father, a son type thing. Now, we do have a clause in there, if you looked at, if the grandparent resides in the same household, because some people are raised by their grandparents, so even though they're, their grandparent, they still act as the mother or father. So then that would constitute 5. But what we're want to discuss is, do we want to look at going to, for a grandparent, is it 3? I mean, since I've been here, I've lost, 2 grandparents myself, and, the most I've ever taken was 2. Now, granted, they didn't live with me, but, I wasn't their primary caretaker either, which in some cases, if they're living in the same household, they may be. So I didn't know if we wanted to limit that to 2 or 3. And then also we want to look in there to put in a clause of within a time frame. Because we've had requests that I have 5 days according to the policy. So could I take 3 now and two weeks down the road or 3 weeks down the road. And by this, they do have 5 days. It doesn't limit them to when they can take it, or does it have to be, consecutive? So I just, was part of the discussion.
Because it's for each grandparent, so there's potential 20 days a year.
Potential. Like with me, I have all 4 of my grandparents when I came here are still living, so technically, yes.
Do you have any idea how many were used last year by the entire state?
For grandparents, the majority of the 5-day ones are grandparents.
The majority of...
Just
Of any type of bereavement for the 5 days.
Because
It's
the
not-
odds are it's
it's-
going to be
it's
grandparent rather than...
That's the
I
majority,
would agree with that.
yes.
But how many...
I
so-
do not have.
And do we have any idea of how many... We have what? How many total employees is it?
Altogether, full-time, 300.
Yeah. So 300 employees, how many people took a bereavement leave last year?
I don't have that information, Rick, but it's,
I mean,
they're used.
I'm sure they are. The idea is that they should be used. I mean, that's the point. But the question is, you want to manage that use, and you want to manage what is commensurate with other districts, so you can motivate the teachers to stay here, and then also make sure that it's fair for the taxpayers and the students that are going to miss that person. And they don't want to have a substitute. You're hurting those people in that respect as well a little bit. So
I don't know that our bereavement leave is a yes or no deciding factor for whether they come here or not to teach. I mean, but,
Why is this being brought up? Just because people are asking a lot of questions? about
There's
how to use the
there's
5
questions,
days?
and it's being used to where it's 5 days, and there's no parameters of how can it be used in 2 weeks
Mhm.
from
So
the.
you might have, I'm just thinking of my years as an administrator, you might have someone who loses a grandparent and they take 3 days for the services that week, but maybe they want to then take their other 2 days a month down the road when they're looking at a will, or there's an attorney meeting or something, they
Yes.
come back and say, can I use my other
But
2
they
days?
don't
take 5 Fridays off in a row.
Yeah.
But they don't have, there's no parameters.
There's no parameter, so that becomes a question as to, should that be personal days or should that be bereavement,
And by the way, it's currently written, it's technically at 5 days, and there's no parameters. I don't know, if maybe within, 2 weeks,
So is this policy then becomes part of the contract negotiation?
no, it's policy. Contract is not part of it.
So these are paid bereavement or not paid bereavement?
Paid
Okay.
So it's part of the contract. Once you have decided here, it becomes part of the contract that they're now allowed to do that, right?
No, I don't think these types of leave, it's vacation and personal days of 6 days.
Yeah, 6 days are the only
contract.
part of the contract.
This is not
Bereavement's
part of
not part of it.
I know where I work, they had to take it consecutively.
Consecutive from,
Yeah.
you couldn't take,
You could take,
But-
that's good.
But so this is a contract, you're making a contract decision here.
no, this is not, bereavement days are not contracted. It's policy. So this will not affect any of the current contracts.
They get paid for these days that they take off.
They do.
And it's part of their package.
Not
It's part of the
contract.
benefit package from as a policy of the district, not from their contract.
Yeah. There's nothing that says they're allowed. The only thing that's in there is personal sick, and for administration, there's vacation days. So technically, the
There's a
board would say
rider on
zero.
top of, there's a rider on top of their policy, this is it.
On top of their contract.
On top of their contract, okay. I think you should collect information about the usage, the cost, and the average, so that the decision-making that you're doing.
I think that's probably a great idea, David. I think we should put some parameters around the activity as well. Within.
I would like to say the
So
parameters here.
consecutive or not, but you have,
Consecutive.
but realistically, I agree with Sue, you got wills, you got probate, there's a ton of things that take place if you've ever had, it's,
No,
It's significant.
Unfortunately, I haven't had to go through any of those activities.
I'm older, so we've done that a lot. But the point is that there's 3 parts to it. There's the teacher side of it, or the employee side, that they have this responsibility. Then you have, someone's got to cover for that person,
Correct.
and that's going to affect the students and how that gets done. And anytime someone's missing or sick, it harms the whole,
It has an
Organization.
impact to the curriculum, it has an impact to
and then you want
cost,
to
because
curtail,
substitute costs.
right, you want to curtail some of what your statement is, misuse, whatever you want to call it. You want to You want to narrow it down so you can manage it easier, because if you know someone had a tragedy in their family, and you're gonna say, okay, next 5 days I can hire a substitute
The
on
same
those 5 days.
substitute, which it does help, the consecutive.
Right,
basis.
it's 5 days of substitute, like, at least I can plan it, and I get that. So the advance notice side is usually 2 or 3 for bereavement, right? Because they're not gonna, is it, or is it? I mean,
So there's
usually
24
funerals
hours,
are-
it's, you know, someone passes away that night, you get a call the next morning, someone's died, I'm taking 5 days.
Okay, but it's not for the funeral, and they'll just assume that that's within that 5 period, okay. So it's a management issue, and you should have numbers before you make management decisions. Right.
Well, the numbers won't affect how it's used.
But it'll give an understanding as to what kind of decision you want to make. If you find that you're making.
So you want to somehow quantify who's taking
How many were
chunks and
taken?
taking consecutively?
You can't regulate morality,
Okay?
okay? It's impossible. You can guide it, you can have management over it, but you can't regulate morality. If someone wants to abuse the system,
Mhm.
you're not going to be able to put any regulation you want, they can always find a whatever, right? So the idea is to go down the guideline side and work within a group and give them guidance, but I don't know why you're taking authority over someone's bereavement, or trying to make our lives easier, to make the kids' lives better, and harming the person that just lost a loved one.
No, I don't think
Just
that's.
because questions
Maybe-
are coming up, like confusions are being created. I mean, I think for all of us, it's pretty obvious that bereavement means someone dies, you're upset, and then you immediately take that day off, and probably every day until the funeral happens, you know, and I think,
But let me put it in perspective. If my relative dies, and it's a grandparent, yes, you're gonna be saddened, right, like you're saying, and you might be a little distraught because you lost a loved one, but when you're talking about a grandparent, there might be a little bit of a window of opportunity understanding what takes place. Let's pretend they're in Florida or Washington. I want to take my 5 bereavement days, my 3 vacation days, and I'm going to take my 7 personal days, because I got to go to the state of Washington
sure.
to go administer to everything out of the house. You got wills, you got, I
Cleanup.
mean, there's a whole thing going on there.
Sure.
That structure, you want to leave open to that employee,
Mhm.
and you want to manage that employee. So the structure, without the authority, because it's their freedom, should be leaned more towards upon
Mhm.
the bereavement. They should announce which days they're taking and why.
Mhm.
At which point, if they can manage the will, they can manage it. If not, they have to take a personal day because of that,
Right.
which is fair to both sides. They get their days, they get their time.
There's
And
this
you don't want them coming back being distraught and then not paying attention to what they're doing in school because they're still breathing here.
There's this other statement earlier in this policy that says, any other abnormal circumstance as approved by the superintendent. I mean, we could add language like that underneath there. To like capture, you know, peculiar circumstances.
This is, I'm
All right.
a very passionate guy.
Sure.
This is contract related. It should be dealt with through the union contract. Dan Williams should be involved. The teachers should be polled. The administration should pull data to find out how many days we're talking about, how big of an issue is this, how do we want to curtail it. If 1 or 2 people are abusing it, they probably abuse the water fountain, taking too much home. You know, you're not going to worry about it as much in this respect because it's bereavement.
I'm sure.
But that data should be there, and they-
Bringing it up, it's more than 1 or 2 isolated
And
instances.
it's not that they're
But the
using it,
union
they're reading
involved
it
in
as,
all-
I get 5 days, I could, use them or spread them out however I feel.
Yeah, but that's not bereavement.
No, it is.
Depending on
How you
what.
breathe,
Depends how you quantify it, right?
How do you bereave, right? It could be,
3 weeks from now, I'm gonna be bereaved,
Well, in theory, as you said, if we have a situation where someone's in Florida, they pass away down in Florida, they transport a body back, they're being cremated, so maybe you take a day today, but funeral services aren't for 3 weeks, because.
correct. So
Sure.
the point is, did it,
Whatever.
but before, to get here into a committee meeting,
Mhm.
data from the administration, data from the Dan Williams or whoever's, Dan's still in charge of the union, right?
One
One what?
professional.
He's one of,
No,
In charge of the professional.
Yeah, he's in charge of
okay, one of the unions, right. They should be involved and have their input. What are they looking for? what are they trying to do? And then we make a financial, a moral, and a cooperative decision based upon that after you've collected the data. To do it here is missing that, all of it. My opinion. Well, I don't know. Same with the, what do you define as an immediate family, what do you define as your relative? And all that's pretty much, we should follow we're a government. We should follow a government standard, or can follow a government standard.
Well, that is here, the immediate family is listed there, what they
I see it.
consider immediate family.
But I mean, is that the same standard that's used by GSA, right? Government Services Association contract?
No.
Or for PD.
Yeah, no, they don't really have it, guidelines. What
Have you seen any types of different parameters around
For, we looked at grandparents, it's
I
a
mean,
lot of, it's 5, 3, or 1.
the days are in, I was talking about how you manage your time or.
Many of them are open-ended.
Open and open.
Many of them are open-ended. I think they're, some people feel that, okay, it's 5 in a row. Some people feel it could be broken out. But there's nothing technically black and white that says this is, the timeline that they could be using. Or if we put a timeline and then maybe add, like Joyce said something about, so if, a month from now, they have a meeting with the lawyer regarding a will, they could let us know that, and that could be decided, for the superintendent or designee can decide, okay, that's one of those, that can be used as one of those 5 days I'm going to use for now, but we have a meeting, with a lawyer in a month to discuss the will, or, maybe some of the household items, disbursement or something.
Do you want to direct the administration to collect this information from those groups, or do you want them to attend the next policy meeting to apply their input?
I feel we could probably get it from them, they don't need to attend a meeting.
I mean, if they want,
So
I could
so
reach out to
committee,
them.
whatever
They're
information you
right
want.
here,
If you want to reach out to Dan,
Right.
to,
So-
It's
Lori.
Lori.
And I'm assuming payroll.
Payroll.
Payroll will find out how many days in the last year, 2 years.
So what do you want to ask this employee entities as towards guidance for this policy? What do you want to ask? What's the question you should be asking?
Well, what do you want us to ask them? Because you're the one that felt we should ask them something to get them.
You definitely want their input. We want to know whether or not they should make them consecutive or not,
right,
and explain the value of why consecutive is a value to the administration, and see if they can work with that and use personal days for other stuff, if they found that beneficial. And then you want to ask them, when should it start in relationship to
What's on
the
the
passing
time
of the person?
some parameters around the time it's used and.
Yeah, and ask for their guidance, and then we review it and see if it fits.
Yeah.
Because that way they feel that they've had
Involved.
input, and then they get to make the decision, as long as it blesses it, and it's part of the, I think we should also ask the administration to pull up the government's definitions of these three things, right? Immediate family, near
I
relative,
think that's only two.
or two, I guess. And,
Because they're just
see
broken
if
down
they-
by support versus professional.
right, see if they're commensurate with the other government agencies, your government agencies. And what does the state of Pennsylvania do, you know?
No.
We should pull that policy as well. Pennsylvania Department, will you seal the Pennsylvania Department of Education
I
first?
suppose the comment I made earlier, yeah. What do they do in this situation?
So do you want to move on the suicide thing? Do you want to make this recommendation? Because this one's pretty straightforward, right?
Well, that one's up for the first reading.
Yeah, that would be the first reading. Next ones we have is policy 062, recording of board meetings. I know we talked about that, and I saw Mr. Flyler, I just was going to email, did respond to the recordings of the board meetings. I did not print it out though.
So how did this change take place that this showed up on the agenda?
What's that, the recording of the board meeting?
Yeah, there's no,
It was brought up, that was brought up at the meeting here.
I know, but there's no blue or changes this. This is a whole new
We don't
policy.
have it, this is not, there's not.
This is our current active policy.
This-
This is current policy.
Current
There's no-
policy. We didn't change anything because this was, at the last board meeting, we said we'd bring it up to policy and talk about both of these.
Okay. And so this is the first discussion prior
This
to
is
the
the,
government.
correct. This is how it is currently.
Basically, Mr. Fowler said you can't do any of the things you want to do on this policy, or that are on this policy currently.
Well, because they talked about, section about editing the recording seems unnecessary for a few reasons. If the tapes are ultimately destroyed during their, like it says, that it makes no sense. Something happens that will result in litigation because of conduct at the meeting, the parties are going to request unedited version. So it's talking about editing. If we receive a timely right to know request, we cannot edit a public meeting further, since, and they also goes in there about they are streamed live too, so to editing it does not, seem.
So my question is, who wrote this policy?
Which one is for the
The
policy?
2015 policy. It was the board of 2015.
Then there was the board that was, reviewed the policy. I don't know that we completely, first of all, we don't write verbatim any type of new policy. We look at it and take other areas, other districts, PSBA looks at them as well as part of the policy.
Well, we're government, and the meeting has to be open. You have a recording right there, you have an audio right here. It should be live broadcast, so anybody that wants to watch it, that can't come here, or feels intimidated by coming here, that they can still be involved in our government. So I think this policy should be recording of board meetings will be done by the board and released immediately to the public record. And that's the end of it. There's no reason to have any of this other stuff. Because it's not within our control. Yeah, none of this is within your control, as defined by Eric Fowler. Some guy stands here and live streams it,
Yeah, it's out.
welcome to 2018. So we should be releasing it instantaneously, live streamed, as a board meeting, to the public, being
Now,
transparent.
that one's only surveillance, so
I
there's
know
no
that.
audio.
Right, but that and this can be broadcast.
Can it be put together?
I don't know how they could.
It does, I did. But that and that are
You would think it would lag though, because I start that
Now, what
one
are you
early, so I
talking
know it
about?
starts.
Bear with me.
Okay,
It's live stream. It goes directly to USB, so pull them 2 feeds together. It collects those two as a timestamp and gets instantly released, just like your phone does. Your phone does the same thing. It takes a
But our
camera
phone-
and an audio.
okay, but it's two different systems.
I understand.
So if I take that SD card,
It's got, no, you're not taking an SD card, or you're not taking that. During the meeting, that feed's gonna go into a box in here, and that audio feed's gonna go into a little box in here, and that box is gonna be connected to the internet, and it's gonna go right out to the web.
so we would have to purchase
A
something.
box. Correct.
And
That's gonna collect those two.
our IT would know that how, if I tell them that, I'm just asking, I'm not sure.
$49 and
I'm
screening
not
check.
a, I
School
have no
district, probably
clue.
$149.
I have no clue, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm not sure
We're
how
talking
they
about-
would do it.
Right, so there's so as a committee member, I suggest that we request of who's the IT guy?
Marcus.
Marcus, to collect the video feed from the surveillance within the boardroom and the audio feed from the surveillance in the boardroom, and have it live streamed on the district website.
I don't know
And
that,
recorded and saved.
and I don't know that we can tie into that system though, for sure.
Okay. I did. Ask him how, and he'll tell you how.
You tie into our security system?
Yes.
Okay. How are you able to tie into our security system?
Everything has an IP address.
Okay.
There's an IP address now. Just wait till look.
But my question is, again, is how was someone from the public, because
He doesn't, we're gonna make it available. We're gonna
you
give
said you do it now.
you saw the video. The access to the live stream video. Well, they live streamed here. We get that video feed from you, and we put it out. on the web. I have to manually match the
Okay.
audio to the
That's
thing.
okay.
So, but you're not, you can't tie into it right now and watch something at home off our security camera.
No.
Cleaver thought you were saying
That's what I was
that
saying.
you can tie into it right now and watch the video whenever you like.
I'll answer no to that. I'll take the fifth.
Which, that's exactly what I was,
Yeah,
what I
I
was,
heard that interpretation, but he just meant that a person could
yeah.
tap into that, like
Right.
Marcus, who knows
Yeah,
the IP
someone that
address. access.
Everything has an IPA.
Yeah,
And that goes for all school video.
What's that?
I think that should be for all school video.
So would you upload it the day after, or you actually live stream
Live stream.
it to, as